You don't lose your health all at once. You lose it in fractions. In those quiet, ordinary moments you never thought to question. You don't notice the first time your legs feel heavier climbing the stairs. You don't think much of it when you rise from a chair a little slower. You tell yourself it's just aging. Natural. Expected. But deep down, something feels off. Not broken, just out of sync, like your body's running a rhythm that no longer fits the music of your life. That's not age speaking, that's habit. And this is the part nobody ever told you. Your body isn't simply wearing out. It's responding to the instructions you've been giving it for years without even knowing it. Instructions like sit more, move less, choose easy, avoid strain, stay safe, be still. And it obeys, faithfully. Not out of weakness, but out of loyalty. Your body trusts you, even when you forget to trust it. It starts early. Somewhere along the line, comfort became the goal. And why not? You worked hard. You earned your rest. But comfort isn't the same as health. Comfort can be quiet, deceptive, even dangerous, because comfort tells your muscles they're no longer needed. It tells your circulation to slow, your joints to stiffen, your metabolism to relax. It doesn't shout. It doesn't hurt. It just rewrites the blueprint of your body, one slow step at a time. Most people don't see it until it's already taken root. Not because they're careless, but because they were never taught to look for it. They were told to eat better, walk a little, maybe take some pills. But nobody ever explained the power of the everyday, how the smallest repeated motions shape your strength more than any gym ever could, or how stillness is never neutral. It's always either healing or harming. Take the way you sit. Harmless, right? Necessary even. But your body listens, and when it sees that you spend hours folded, bent, slouched day after day, it assumes this is how you want to live. So it adjusts. Your hips tighten. Your core disengages. Your lower back stops holding itself up. And over time, what once felt like relaxation becomes the source of your fatigue. But it doesn't blame you. It just keeps adapting. Now, imagine that multiplied. The way you reach, the way you rise, the hours between meals, the skipped steps, the half-hearted breaths, the late-night snacks you've told yourself don't count. It all counts. Everything you repeat is a signal, and your body responds accordingly. Not in protest, but in loyalty. And then one day, the changes become visible. Your legs cramp more often. Your balance feels uncertain. You forget why you walked into the kitchen, and you think it's just age. It's not. It's biology reacting to behavior. But here's the most important part, and I need you to really hear this. It's not too late. The human body, even in its 7th or 8th decade, is still listening, still changing, still adapting, but now it's waiting for you to change the message, to give it a new rhythm, a new signal, not loud, not aggressive, just clear and consistent. You are not fragile. You are not finished. You are simply at a turning point, one where your awareness becomes the medicine, one where your curiosity becomes the cure. The shift begins not with movement, but with noticing, with paying attention to the moments you usually ignore, the way you wake up, the way you pause before standing, the way you breathe when no one's watching. That is where the battle is won. Not in the gym, not in the clinic, in the quiet, in the repetition, in the details. Because every moment is a message, and the next one is still yours to rewrite. You ever notice how your body starts to mirror your routines? It's subtle at first. The way you lean slightly forward when you walk, the hesitation before stepping down from a curb, that slight bracing of your hand on the wall when you get up from bed in the morning. None of it feels dramatic. None of it screams something's wrong, but it's not nothing either. It's your body adapting, quietly, patiently, to a life that's been slowly asking less of it. And here's the truth. Your body doesn't change out of rebellion. It changes out of loyalty. It listens to what you do, not what you hope. And when your daily habits say, sit here, don't stretch, don't challenge, don't reach, your body stops preparing for anything more. That's why so many people mistake decline for aging, when it's really just momentum in the wrong direction. A pattern repeated long enough becomes a new normal. You eat a little later than you used to. You walk a little less. You sleep with the TV on. You skip water and tell yourself coffee's enough. You stop reaching your arms overhead just because you haven't needed to in a while. And before long, the body responds by trimming away the strength you haven't used, not as punishment, but as efficiency. Because nature doesn't keep what it doesn't think you need. That's the part no one tells you. Decline doesn't come with a bang, it comes with agreement. A quiet contract written in skipped steps, short breaths, and shortened days. But here's what's miraculous. That contract, it can be rewritten. The moment you introduce a new rhythm, even a small one, your body starts to listen differently. It leans forward, curious. It doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for presence. A message that says, I still care, not in theory, in practice. Because your body doesn't need heroic effort. It needs honest effort, consistent small invitations to wake back up, stretching your arms when you wake up, standing while you talk on the phone, taking your shoes off and rolling your feet over a cold water bottle. None of it seems like much, but to your nerves, your joints, your circulation, it's everything. It's proof that you still want to participate, and the body loves participation. It rewards you in ways you can't always see on a chart. A clearer mind in the morning, a steadier step at night, a warmth in your hands that wasn't there last month, a deeper breath held without strain. These aren't miracles, they're feedback. They're your body saying, thank you for noticing me again. But if you ignore those signals, if you keep treating tiredness like it's permanent, or stiffness like it's inevitable, you'll miss the chance to turn things around. Not because you're incapable, but because the invitation will fade. That's the tragedy. Not decline itself, but how quietly we accept it. You are not a bystander in your own health. You are the author. And every single choice, no matter how small, is part of the story you're still writing. A walk around the block, a deep stretch in the kitchen, a meal made with real food instead of something from a box. These are not chores, these are declarations. They say, I am still here, I am still worth showing up for. That's the real measure of health. Not what numbers say, but how willing you are to be present in your own life again. And presence doesn't need youth, it needs truth. It's strange how quickly the body forgets what it doesn't practice. Balance isn't lost in a fall, it's lost in the weeks before, when you stop standing on one leg to put on a sock, when you shuffle instead of stride, when you grab the nearest chair without ever questioning if your legs could have handled one more minute standing. And it's not your fault. The world doesn't teach you to notice these things. It teaches you to sit when you're tired, to stop when you're winded, to lean on convenience as if it were a reward for a life well lived. But comfort without challenge doesn't build peace, it builds dependency. And what makes this so hard to see is that it all feels gentle. You're not in pain, not really. You're not sick. But you're not fully well either. You wake up, move through your morning, pour your coffee, sit by the window, and yet something feels missing. Like your body showed up to live, but was never invited to participate. That's the silent cost of stillness. Not just weaker muscles, but a life that starts to feel quieter, smaller, a little less vivid. That's why change has nothing to do with dramatic workouts or strict diets. It begins much earlier. It begins in the mind, when you finally ask the question most people avoid. Is the way I'm living right now building me or breaking me? And it's in that moment, in the silence after asking, that something shifts. You notice your own posture when you're washing the dishes. You feel the stiffness in your hips after too long in a chair. You realize you haven't taken a deep breath, not a real one, in days. And suddenly, these aren't just habits, they're signals, patterns that were shaping you quietly all along. You don't have to fight them, you just have to interrupt them. Not all at once, just once a day. Once in the morning, when you choose to stretch instead of scroll. Once in the afternoon, when you walk outside before you sit down. Once at night, when you take a few deep breaths before bed, not to fall asleep, but to remind your nervous system that you're still in charge. These moments are small, but stacked together, they begin to build something stronger than willpower. They build rhythm, and rhythm is what aging really needs. Not more effort, more consistency. Not more stress, more alignment. You see, when your day follows no rhythm, your body forgets what's coming. Your blood sugar spikes at odd hours. Your sleep comes late and light. Your digestion grows sluggish. Your muscles stiffen because your body doesn't know when or if they'll be needed again. But give yourself structure, not rules, just rituals, and your body begins to trust you again. It starts showing up with strength you thought you lost. That's the secret. You don't need to feel young to feel alive. You need to feel connected to yourself, to your breath, to your choices. You need to remember that you were never meant to fade quietly into the background. Your body has been waiting, not for permission, for participation. And you can begin that process today. Because the moment you stop treating your body like a problem to be solved and start treating it like a partner to be supported, everything changes. There's a kind of sadness that settles into the body when it's been ignored too long. Not grief, not pain, just absence. Like your strength has quietly moved to the edge of the room, waiting to be noticed again. And what we often mistake as decline, slower steps, heavier limbs, less energy, isn't always age. Sometimes it's just the result of silence. The silence between meals that no longer nourish. The silence between movements that never challenge. The silence in your mind when you stop asking, what do I actually need? You might not feel it right away. It shows up subtly, like your shoes feeling tighter because your ankles swell more than they used to. Or the way your fingers ache a little longer when the weather shifts. Or how you pause before bending to tie your shoes, not because you can't, but because you're not sure how your body will respond. These moments don't feel dramatic, but together they shape your story, and you get to decide what kind of story that is. Not by being perfect, not by doing everything right, but by doing one thing differently, by becoming conscious. Because the body you live in today is the result of thousands of unconscious decisions. What you ate when you were tired, when you moved and when you didn't, what you accepted as just getting older. And yet, every single cell in your body is listening for something new, something more aligned, something that says, I'm still here, I still care. So maybe today that shift begins with how you eat, not what, but how. Are you sitting in silence, chewing slowly, letting your body process? Or are you eating distracted, rushed, barely tasting the food that's meant to rebuild you? Because food isn't just fuel, it's communication. When you eat foods your body recognizes, real, whole, unprocessed, your systems respond. Inflammation settles, digestion improves, energy returns. But that only happens when you give it space, when you stop treating meals like chores and start treating them like rituals. Or maybe the shift happens in your breath. How long has it been since you paused and breathed all the way in and all the way out? Most people over 60 don't realize how much of their fatigue, their tension, even their fog comes from shallow breathing. Not because they forgot how to breathe, but because they stopped giving themselves the chance. Your lungs, your heart, your brain, they're waiting for you to remember that breath is power. Not flashy, not loud, but essential. It grounds you, it centers you. And sometimes it's the only thing standing between you and that spiral of doubt that whispers, it's too late. But it isn't. Not if you're listening now. Not if you still feel something stir when you hear that quiet voice inside say, I want to feel better. I want to feel strong again. That voice is real. It doesn't belong to your past. It belongs to your future. And the only thing it needs is to be followed. Because healing doesn't always begin in the doctor's office. Sometimes it begins in the kitchen, or the hallway, or the first 5 minutes after waking, when you choose to stretch instead of sigh, when you hydrate before coffee, when you listen to your body instead of tuning it out. These are the choices that reclaim not just your health, but your agency, your confidence, your momentum. You haven't lost your power. You've just misplaced your attention. And now that you've remembered, there's only one thing left to do. Move forward. Slowly. Intentionally. With care, yes, but never again with apology. Because your life isn't behind you. It's still unfolding, moment by moment, in the choices you make today. The most powerful change doesn't begin with a plan. It begins with a moment when you stop dismissing the signals, a moment when you say, no more sleepwalking through my days. And that moment could be now. You're not standing at the end of something. You're standing at a beginning. One that asks not for perfection, but for participation. It asks that you stop waiting for someone else to fix what only you can choose to rebuild. That aching hip, that tired mind, that uncertainty in your step. It's not a verdict. It's an invitation. An invitation to reconnect with the body that's carried you through every high and every heartbreak. And it's still here, still offering you the chance to rise. You don't need to make dramatic announcements. You don't need to tell anyone what you're doing. Just begin. Quietly. Consistently. The world doesn't need to know, but your body will. It will know when you rise 5 minutes earlier and stretch before the day claims you. It will know when you lace up your shoes instead of reaching for the remote. It will know when you pause at the sink to breathe instead of rush. These moments are invisible to everyone else, but they're everything to your bones, your joints, your lungs, your heart. And the best part? The results won't just show up in a mirror. They'll show up in your experience, in the ease with which you rise from a chair, in the steadiness of your steps, in the clarity that returns to your thoughts, and more than that, in the pride. The quiet, steady pride of knowing that you are not fading. You are showing up for yourself, on purpose. You'll start to notice things. How the sun feels better on your skin when you've earned it with a walk. How food tastes richer when you're hungry from movement. How your mood shifts when your blood moves. These aren't coincidences, they're clues. Clues that your body, even now, is ready to reward you for the effort. And when it gets hard, and yes, there will be days when it does, remember this: the discomfort of change is temporary. The regret of inaction is permanent. You will never regret taking care of yourself. You will never regret choosing presence over convenience. You will never regret one breath, one step, one choice made with love instead of habit. There is no expiration date on strength, no deadline for vitality, no age limit on beginning again. And if you've been waiting for someone to give you permission to care about your health like it still matters, here it is. You matter. Your days matter. And the small invisible habits you choose now will become the shape of your future. So let this be the chapter where you return to yourself. Not to who you were at 30, not to some impossible version of youth, but to the strongest version of who you are now. A version rooted in wisdom, in awareness, in intention. A version who knows that time is precious, and that every step taken with care is a step taken toward freedom. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are exactly where change begins, right here, right now. And it all starts with one more step.